Hey, what's up, you guys? I want to talk about the big nuclear Hoyoverse contract leak that happened today. I did react to this on stream, but I felt like it didn't really hit all of the points that I wanted to. So I want to go over the contract sort of point by point. And I want to talk about a lot more about why this is predatory, skirting ethical concerns, moral concerns. And I want to help you guys really understand why this matters, not just to content creators, but also how it matters to viewers that this happens as well, and how this isn't a temporary setback sort of thing if you were to take a contract like this, how this contract really does create a massive deficit for a content creator that would take a contract like this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Subscribe! So this is the contract leak in question. This is a contract from Yomi, which is an advertising agency that represents Hoyoverse. That was leaked by someone who had received this contract. It was posted to Twitter in response to Lol Shinya's tweet. I understand where there are concerns that this is not verifiable or this is not real. I want to assure you that it is. Multiple content creators have confirmed that. Some content creators have also confirmed that they've received this contract. This is in no way a fake leak or something that somebody made up for drama. This is real and it is a concern. It is very important that we understand what this actually means for content creators and what it means for realistically the community as a whole. So we're obviously going to start with the juicy part. Yomi is an advertising agency that represents Hoyoverse. Essentially, the function of Yomi is to go around and look for opportunities for someone to advertise for Hoyoverse. They basically do the legwork of finding people to advertise for Hoyoverse directly. This is not to be confused with a talent agency, which a talent agency represents the content creator and goes and finds advertising opportunities for the content creator. And the reason I want to differentiate this is because some people are saying that this is like par for the course things that people ask, especially this top part, which is kind of the worst of it. Their concern and their function is not to protect the content creator in any way. It is to protect and help Hoyoverse. And I want to make this distinction because I don't think very many people fully understand the difference there. And I think it does help understand why this is sort of it's a deeply predatory and worrying practice that this would be around. The second paragraph is a list of content in which the content creator is responsible for. And what I want to clarify about this contract as a whole is that it is a long-term contract, probably for several months up to several years. It just depends on the contract. It's different for everybody. The content creator has to engage in minor promotional activities such as retweeting, sharing in-game screenshots, and to do things for updates and festivals, important events. They would be requested to participate in influencer campaigns. They would be requested to make specific videos, collaborate on specific events, and attend certain events. And additionally, Hoyoverse has the right to use any of their videos for marketing purposes. And I want to point this part out because all of these things would not be wrapped up in a single agreement where you would just be expected to do all of these things all of the time. I would also like to point out that these advertising agencies that work for companies tend to go after smaller, less experienced content creators that don't know how to negotiate for themselves, don't know their worth as content creators, to be able to understand where this is asking a lot of a content creator in a singular contract. It's a bit insane. Retweeting posts is a fee. Separately, in-game screenshot sharing is a fee. Being in on certain updates and festivals is a fee if you're doing it for the purpose of advertising. Making theme-specific videos, that's a fee. Collaborating, being required to attend events, those are all fees that the content creator would be charging and would need to be negotiated separately. I also want to point out this last one is really kind of insane. They have the ability to just take a content creator's videos and use them for advertising for marketing purposes without that being an additional fee, because essentially what this means is that they own the rights to your work as a content creator, which is a lot to ask for from a singular contract. Not only is Hoyoverse not paying very well, over time they've actually been paying less and less. A lot of these content creators rely on these sponsorships to live. negative. A lot of these content creators lose out on viewership very significantly when they are not specifically covering Hoyoverse games. They also get benefits when they're part of these contracts, when they have these good relationships with Hoyoverse, where they get content that other people can't get in time. They get access to beta servers and all that stuff, the creator experience server as well. They don't have to pay them very well because they've already sort of got these creators in chokehold. But I want to go into obviously section E. This paragraph is kind of obviously the most insane, incendiary, sort of nuclear part of this, which is the content creator shall promptly notify Yomiholic if any other gaming brand intends to sponsor their content. Yomiholic has full discretion to reject sponsorships that could be detrimental to Zenless Zone Zero or to the content creator's reputation. This is, in a lot of ways, vague legalese to get around having a non-compete agreement. This is a third party that is being put in control over who you can and cannot work with as a content creator, with all of the vagueness as to signify that this primarily means nothing and also means everything. If you even Google like gaming brand, it's so intensely vague that it's not even going to come up with other games. It comes up with like Razer and Asus and Corsair because it's coming up with PC parts, because gaming brand means essentially nothing. And the reason for using this kind of wording is because they can use it to slap down anything they want to. If you want to get sponsored by literally anything else, you could make an argument for gamer subs. Use code HexJuice at checkout for 10% off. They are technically a gaming centered brand. They could say they don't want you to work with them because they don't like the anime titties. So this is wording that applies to quite literally any sponsorship that most streamers would get. There are very few things that I could think of that you couldn't make an argument for being a gaming brand. And additionally, what detrimental is absolutely and 100% should be outlined in this contract, in this section, and it is not. This vagueness is on purpose. A non-compete is going to state specifically what counts as competition, whereas this is more so just like, we want to have you asking us what you can do with your sponsorships and what companies you can make relationships with. And even if they can't technically hold a content creator to these standards, the unfortunate reality is that a content creator is not necessarily going to have the resources or money to fight something like this in court. Whereas this is obviously a corporation that is backed additionally by Hoyoverse. On top of that, the reality is if that a content creator is just like, well, fuck this, I'm just gonna go do what I wanna do. I'm gonna break this contract. I'm not gonna ask. I'm gonna ignore whatever. They stand to have very, very significant fines put on them. I've heard up to $500,000. If you wanted to, hypothetically speaking, have a relationship and be sponsored by, I don't know, Kuro Games and Wuthering Waves, literally any competitor to Zenless Zone Zero, but also literally anything can be just completely rejected by Yomiholic if they don't like it, if they don't want you to do it. If this happens early on in your career, you are sort of hamstrung in your content, because when you are fully and entirely associated with a game, it is going to be a very difficult battle for that content creator to do almost anything else. If you're contracted with these people, there's going to be a lot of things that you can and cannot say. You're going to be limited in what you can say about Zenless Zone Zero, about Hoyoverse, about other games. You're not going to want to mess with it because these contracts kind of own you. Really, what it does is it makes it hard for content creators to really reach their full potential, because even once they get out of this contract, you've spent a year making mostly Zenless Zone Zero content. Maybe you've made content for other games, but you're not getting sponsored. You're not really getting paid for that. And since your channel is built directly about that game, that content is not going to do that well for you either. We see that all the time with like Genshin Impact content creators, where when they go to other games, they do variety streaming. It doesn't do very well for them. They have a very hard time succeeding in that. And so it actually limits the potential of content creation as a whole in gacha. This is detrimental to Wuthering Waves as well. If content creators are not going to be willing to cover the game, either because they're not going to be sponsored, it's not going to do well for their channel, and or / they literally are not allowed to because their content is more or less owned by a third party. That hurts the game, because the more content creators that even talk about the game, the better. People are going to be way less willing to do more variety, to try more things. That's bad for the industry as a whole. It's bad for the games as well. If you are stifling competition by preventing content creators from covering those games, you absolutely and 100% are limiting the competitiveness of those games, which limits the impact it has on your game. That's not a good thing, even for consumers, even on a base level of consumers of the game. If these games are not covered adequately by as many content creators as possible via these kind of contracts. This does go to show the lengths to which Hoyoverse is willing to go to continue their monopoly on the gacha gaming sphere. Ultimately, I hope that this does mean that content creators that might have gotten this contract or were considered this agreement might go back and forth with the company a little bit, or just not sign it at all, because I'm very much willing to bet that this is not paying an adequate amount for the amount of work that is being required. And I'm glad that this is coming out, because realistically, stuff like this happens all the time. The vagueness of this contract, the predatory nature of this contract is something that happens in content creation and in a ton of other industries all the time. And it goes under the radar because people aren't willing to leak it because it can hurt their reputation. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. How do you feel about Hoyoverse? How do you feel about Zenless Zone Zero? And I'd love to hear your thoughts. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.